Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Nerdistan. So today marks the 10-year anniversary of the most popular science fiction movie Inception. At least the IMDb says so. I was around 16-17 when I first watched it. I was very new to Hollywood that time. Just like most of you guys, I also started watching movies for entertainment and was unable to see the art behind it. But slowly I realized that there is so much more to it which I am missing. I was introduced to Inception by one of my friends who recommended it by saying, "Do you want to see a movie you will not understand?" And I was like, "You kidding? It's a movie after all. How complex it could be." Since then, I have never used that line again. But I knew that what I have seen is something magical and special. That day I realized that I just can't continue like this. I have to pay attention to every scene, every dialogue very carefully to enjoy the movie to the fullest. So in a way, Inception gave me a different perspective of watching a movie. So let's begin with the story of the movie. Now here's when many people tend to go wrong. If I ask you to describe the story in a couple of lines, most of you will do something like, it is the story of a thief who steals information from another person while dreaming. There's nothing wrong about all that, but it does not do justice to the movie. If you were to ask me, my reply will be, Inception is the story of a man who is separated by his children and the attempts he makes to get back to them. The dreams, the backstory, the action is all secondary, which are just added to make audience intrigue and keep engaged. If you look at Christopher Nolan's complex movie like Memento, The Prestige, the story is very simple. Take Memento for example. It is about a man trying to find his wife's murderer. The Prestige is the story of two magicians' quest to become the greatest of all times. And this is the exact reason why Christopher Nolan is a very successful filmmaker, both critically and commercially. Because at its core, his movies has emotions, a pretty strong one, which make us feel for the characters. If just by putting complex plot, one can make a great movie, then movies like Predestination would be one of the greatest ever. I'm not hating on the movie, just saying. Anyways, now coming to the first scene of the movie, it starts with a man lying on the beach, half conscious, sees two kids playing nearby him, but soon we realize that he was just hallucinating, or should I say, dreaming. From the first scene itself, the director has hinted that dream could play an important role, and it gets stronger by each passing scene. In the next scene itself, we were shown an old man mentioning half-remembered dream. We are getting more confused now. This is a trick used by many filmmakers to capture audience attention immediately by showing something which happens much later in the movie. We subconsciously start thinking about what is the importance of this scene and how did he end up here. It is very important for a movie to start on a right note. British author Andrew Grant says, "You never get a second chance to make a first impression." It goes for movies as well. If the beginning of the movie impresses you, the probability of you liking the movie will significantly increase. Let me just say the name of two movies and you will know the importance of a good opening scene. Skyfall and Spectre. I don't want to go into details, but I hope you got my point. When you're telling a story in which a very unique idea like robbing a dream is involved, you clearly want your audience to have every necessary information to follow the story. Otherwise, what's the point of doing or showing something when in every 5 minutes audience will turn to each other and ask what is happening, but you also don't want to spoon feed them. So they start getting annoyed. You just want to give them enough and left the remaining on their own imagination. Chris Nolan did great at finding the right balance, and he did it very brilliantly by adding the character Ariadne. She is a character who is also new to everything, just like the audience. Chris Nolan writes this character keeping in mind the audience, what type of question they will ask during the movie. Nolan tried to raise all that queries through Ariadne. This way he managed to explain how the dream world works without interrupting the story flow. Now that's the sign of a great filmmaker. Now let's talk about VFX. In a time where every big film is having a ton of visual effects, it's great to have a filmmaker who keeps the use of VFX and CGI to a bare minimum. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate all this, but I feel that if the story is worth having those tons of visual effects, then go crazy with it. But if the story doesn't demand for it, I don't care how good the animations are. Tamil movie Enthiran and its sequel 2.0 is the biggest example of it. For those who don't know, 2.0 is the most expensive Indian film ever made with a whopping budget of 75 million US dollar. But only half a year later, no one talks about it. Because it doesn't matter how good the VFX is unless it is backed by a great story to tell. On the other hand, Enthiran was a breakthrough for Indian cinema, which even after a decade is still remembered by many. From the story to execution, it was just great. If you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it. Coming to Inception, the potential of visual effects in this movie was way too much. It's about dreams after all. But Christopher Nolan only used the visual effects when it was impossible to shoot or capture something. He didn't even use it for the hallway scene. 500 crew members were involved in that scene and it took 3 weeks to shoot that. And the result of it was one of the best action scenes of the year. I would love to talk more about the epic music composed by Hans Zimmer, the ensemble cast, and the storytelling. But for me, what makes Inception one of the greatest movies ever made is its ending. Without any doubt, Inception's ending is the second most talked about ending, only after Game of Thrones. What makes Inception ending so special is it's simple and complex at the same time. Simple for those who are paying attention and complex for those who don't. So I would like to ask you,
are you paying attention?
Alfred Hitchcock, one of the most influential and extensively studied filmmakers in the history of cinema, said, "In order to get suspense, you provide the audience with a certain amount of information and leave the rest of it to their own imagination." Inception's ending did the same thing. For years, people were talking about it, if it was a dream or a reality. It wasn't until 2018, the Stanley of Nolanverse, or should I say Michael Caine, clarifies that Cobb meeting his children was real and not a dream. Now the question comes, why in the ending totem was seen? What's the purpose of it? I would like to call it the art of deception. In psychology, there is a term selective attention, which is the process of directing our awareness to relevant stimuli while ignoring the irrelevant stimuli in the environment. Actually, the movie ends when Cobb meets his children, but Nolan knowingly put the camera on the rotating totem, so we all start freaking out. If it keeps on going, or will it stop? Is it still in a dream or not? That was an unplanned rhyme. Well, let's break down the ending. One of the most common fear in the movie was to get stuck in the dream world. So how would someone know if they are still in the dream or not? In this scene, Arthur introduced the concept of totem to Ariadne. A totem is an object that is used to test if oneself is in one's own reality and not in another person's dream. Hence, every character has their own totem. So what was Cobb's totem? Was it the spinning top? Well, in this scene it was clearly implied that was his wife Moll's totem, so it won't necessarily will give true result to Cobb. Now the question comes, if not that, then what is his real totem? It was his wedding ring. From the first scene itself we knew about it, but as Cobb says, a truth that we had once known but choose to forget. Chris Nolan did a fantastic job here in tricking us throughout the whole movie. He always shows Cobb using that spinning top to check if he's in a dream or not. He showed it so many times that we accept it to be his real totem. In this scene, when he takes Ariadne to the dream world, again there is a ring, but when they come out there is no ring. In this scene, when he is interrogating Fisher, there is ring, or in the last limo scene with Moll, there is ring. So now you guys must have guessed that if the ring is there, it means he's in a dream, and if there is no ring, he is in the real world. Now let's check if there is ring after he wakes up from the limbo. Nope, there is no ring, means it was not a dream and a reality. Now when we are done with that, let me tell you one final thing. Have you wondered why Cobb chooses the ring to be his totem? I may be overthinking here, but I believe there is a stronger reason. A reason which will give this movie a new emotional depth. And it is... With that, I want to end this video. Hope you all liked it. We also do weekly podcast on our channel, so give it a shot as well. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys the next time.